United States no choice but to act strongly and decisively. Let me repeat, the United States objectives are clear: to protect our own citizens, to facilitate the evacuation of those who want to leave, and to help in the restoration of democratic institutions in Grenada.
Some 2,300 troops are involved in this operation, 2,000 of them Americans. About 30 Soviet citizens on the island have been arrested, and there are reports that they will be sent back to the Soviet Union. There are also a large number of Cubans on the island. Jim Munson is monitoring the situation in Barbados. Jim?
Lloyd, there is a lull in the fighting on the island of Grenada, but according to reports which we confirmed, there is still some resistance at Fort Rupert, where part of the task force landed on the beaches. Barbados radio reports that 3 Cubans were killed and 22 Cubans captured at one of the 2 airports. Also, an American helicopter was reported shot down, but the task force pilot was only wounded. An eyewitness in an interview with Barbados radio said there was a lot of shooting and mortar fire at the major airport. The resident also said that people are staying inside their homes. It's still quite sketchy about who will form the new government, Lloyd. However, a group of exiles calling themselves the Grenadian Democratic Movement, supported by the majority of the East Caribbean countries, announced over Barbados radio just a moment ago that they will set up an interim government. Canadians on the island are apparently safe. 25 of those who want to get out are hoping that once the fighting subsides, they will be able to leave in a special charter organized by the Canadian government, and the plane is expected to take them to Trinidad.
Okay, Jim, thank you very much. We'll keep you posted on events in Grenada, on Evening News tonight, on the CTV National News later, and any change in developments will break into regular programming.
This has been a
BCTV, we're giving it all we got.
That was good morning. That was an update from the CTV network on the dramatic developments in Grenada. Nobody's mentioned yet, of course, that one of the objects of the United States in this was their fears, according to some CIA reports, that the Soviet Union was building a massive military airstrip on that particular island. But we can watch for developments and we'll hear about them. We'll break into any regular programming with dramatic developments from Grenada. That's my contribution this morning to international affairs. I had planned to have a very light program this morning. I'm going to get advice on how I can make a fortune scalping tickets for the Grey Cup game. And I have the expert in how not to scalp tickets from the BC Lions, a fellow by the name of Bobby Ackles. Same height as Al Davidson, but a little bit better put together. Now, seriously this morning, I'm going to find out if the landlords of British Columbia love social credit. And I've asked Jack Hayes, the Executive Director of the Rental Housing Council of British Columbia, to be here for an interview. And then, going to the dogs without any let or hindrance, an intruder in disguise has slipped into my studio this morning against my better judgment. He's a man who causes nothing but trouble and makes very odd remarks. Little fellow with a funny accent who has gone to the docks himself, and his name is Ben Wicks. And then if Claude Richmond, Claude, baby, Tourism Minister of British Columbia, is watching this morning, I want to tell you, Claude, that you were wrong again to complain about the loss or the expenditure of a mere $55,000 of provincial money, $45,000 of federal money, and $100,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars of industry money to produce a film boosting BC which you didn't like. How could you possibly dislike the angel of House Sound? There she is. Just one angel, not 3 angels. And that's part of a magnificent tourism film made in Los Angeles mainly, which boosts British Columbia. And you're going to meet the angel of House Sound later in the program. And Claude, I want you to listen, because your judgment is wrong. It's a very useful plug for BC. Off the top this morning, though, We'll go to wee Bobby Ackles after the break. As an avid fan of the Canucks, the BC Lions, I have here this morning none other than Bobby Ackles. Have I had any coaches this year?
Not yet.
Okay, now that the BC Lions is in the Grey Cup,
Jack, you know less about the Canadian Football League and the Grey Cup than Al Davidson.
right, now that the BC Lions is getting close to the Grey Cup,
That's right, Jack. We have one more game that we must win to assure our berth in the Grey Cup game on November 27th.
you're top of the Western Division now.
Yes, we are, and we're in the Western Final here in Vancouver, November 20th.
And you're telling me that we've still got to beat Winnipeg and somebody else before we're officially representing the West in the Grey Cup.
We have to beat either Winnipeg, Edmonton, or Calgary, the winner of the semifinal, to be in the Grey Cup.
To cinch the place.
That's right.
Is it not scandalous, Mr. Ackles, said he with feigned indignation of the highest order, that with our magnificent new 60,000-seat stadium paid for by public money and built to the glory of God and social credit, that there are no seats for public sale? Is this not the first sporting event in the history of North America of its size in which there have been no tickets at the gate?
No, it's not. Usually the Grey Cup game, Jack, is sold out, and the Grey Cup game is promoted and sold by the Canadian Football League. The 9-member clubs purchased the seats, or allocated the seats. The BC Lions this year, as the host club, get the largest share of the seats. We'll get about 27,000 seats. We have 25,000 season ticket holders. They get first call on them.
Right.
There's a number of other advertisers, promotions, people of that nature that will get the other approximately 1,800 to 2,000 seats from the BC Lions.
In other words, the big beer companies.
Not necessarily. The beer companies would like more seats than we're allowed to give them, or that we will allocate them. We just don't have enough seats.
Okay, we've got 60,000 seats, right? 27,000 go to the BC Lions, and you've got 25,000 season ticket holders, and your other 2,000 are allocated already.
That's right. Yes, they are.
Okay, who gets the other 33,000 seats?
The other 8 clubs and the league. Now, the allocation of seats for the Grey Cup game, there's approximately 30,000 seats between the goal lines. Of those seats, the BC club gets 1/10 because they're split between the 9 clubs and the league.
Right. Even
Okay.
Steven for a tenth apiece between the goal lines.
Approximately at
More
of
or
those
less.
30,000 seats. So the bulk of the BC club seats will be in the end zones and the corners.
Is that bad?
No, it's not bad in that stadium because it's there isn't a bad seat in the house, really. It's a magnificent stadium.
And this is a very fair allocation of the seats all around.
It's more than fair, and it's the most seats that any host club has ever received.
And it's sold out.
It's sold out.
Just gone.
Gone.
Now, how much is a seat if you are a season ticket holder?
$38.
Regardless of where it is.
That's right.
Even if it's in the end zone, you're
Right.
far away, or even if you're in the 50-yard line, you do have a 50-yard line.
There's a 55-yard line as well.
55.
Two 50-yard lines.
Two 50-yard lines. That costs you $38.
Right.
Okay, I want to get into the scalping business. How do I do it? Good. How much will these tickets be worth? We will be,
Well,
I'm sure, in the Grey Cup on the 27th.
I'm sure we will be too.
Right now. How much is a scalped ticket going to be worth?
Well, Jack, I had a comment the other day at the game that a friend of mine had made arrangements with a friend of his who was a season ticket holder in another western city for 2 Grey Cup tickets. He, in turn, sent him the $76 for the 2 seats.
Uh-huh.
And the friend sent him a little note with the tickets. He said, "Jerry, I want you to realize that I could get $600 for these seats in Regina." So what the value of the seats will be in Vancouver on Grey Cup week, I don't know.
But certainly, even now, if you've got a number of buddies in the East who are members of season tickets for other clubs, and you get a couple of dozen seats or whatever you can get, you can just go and scalp them on the streets here.
Well, hopefully not, and hopefully they...
What's wrong with scalping? That's free enterprise
That's
of
free
the
enterprise,
highest
that's
order.
right.
It's not against the law, is it?
As far as I know, it's not.
No. So, a couple of friends in the East, you could sell a couple of tickets on the 50-yard line for $2,000 a pair.
I wouldn't hold them too long.
You wouldn't hold them too long.
I have never been to an event.
Are you getting many complaints from the public about the fact? I had one irate call, you know,
Yeah.
on which I based this entire program this morning. A guy said, I can't get a ticket for the Grey Cup.
Well, yes, we've had a few complaints over it, but, you know, these season ticket holders have been paying the freight for many years, and I know there's a lot of casual game ticket holders that go maybe once or twice or 3 times a year that can't get a Grey Cup ticket. And I still have $17,000 worth of tickets from the game in Montreal 2 years ago. Maybe I could sell those.
I mean, the club has.
The club has, right.
But you couldn't sell
We
here.
couldn't sell.
Because we weren't in the game.
That's right.
Because we haven't been in the Grey Cup since the year of the burning mattresses.
Were you talking about Jim Champion?
Was that?
That was the year of Jim Champion.
Was that the year?
As an assistant coach,
The
right?
burning mattresses. I stood there on Granville Street watching the mattresses topple to the floor.
Well, hopefully we won't have that type of...
Have you got any overall plan to prevent too much congestion in downtown?
Well, Jack Farley is the chairman of the Grey Cup Fanfare Committee. They have a lot of things going on outside of the downtown area. Hopefully that will attract some of the Grey Cup fans and the people that want to participate in the festivities around the Grey Cup. Outside of the Lower Mainland, in
Wait,
the
I mean,
interior of
it's
British
not
Columbia.
fair, like Dick Bedclothes and presumably everybody else used to say that the Grey Cup's Canada's national drunk, is it? It's not
No,
fair.
I don't think that's
It's
fair.
not true, is it?
Not true.
Because there's only beer drinking in the stadium itself.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's right.
And people
A
will
little
buy-
wine. They sell some wine.
Oh, a
and
little
stuff.
wine as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah.
Well, we're all set. We're going to be in the... Oh, November the 20th is your first big game.
We have 2 league games left, and then we play our Western final here in Vancouver, November 20th. There's lots of tickets available for that one, Jack.
And nobody's scalping them either, are they?
Hopefully they won't be.
Okay, Bobby
Should be a
Ackles,
seller.
you've answered all my questions. I'm totally bereft of questions. Have you got a call there? Is it an angry person? I don't want a nice call. Go ahead to Bobby Ackles.
Hi, 2 points. First of all, I am really disappointed at the way the BC Lions are handling this situation. We're not allowing the people who have paid their taxes and who have supported the Lions for the past 20 years and who have seen them go down the tubes in the first round of playoffs and not allow them to get tickets for the Grey Cup when they have the possibility of being in the Grey Cup, and when the first time the Grey Cup has been here, and I think it's about 5 years or so.
1974.
1974, okay, well, almost 10 years. I think it is really a shame that the Lions have not made tickets more available, and the only recourse I can is maybe going through Calgary, and
Okay.
I think that's ridiculous. We're a resident. I've lived here all my life, and I can't go to a game because I know there's no tickets, and the event is some time away.
Okay, Bobby, tell him off. Tell him off.
Well, no, I feel sorry for the guy, but we have to look after our season ticket holders first. Not every season ticket holder applied, but most of them did apply for their Grey Cup seats, and there's many years that we couldn't sell them.
Hold your breath, Bobby. I mean, my object in life is to try and cause people like yourself embarrassment, trouble, and a little bit of humiliation. So I'm going to take
Well, you know you're going to have a difficult time doing that, Jack.
Oh, I know I am. But so I'm going to take a short segment of telephone calls to the inimitable Bobby Ackles after the break.
Okay.
Webster, football expert, interviewing Bobby Ackles. Go ahead to... No, wrong line. Go ahead to Bobby.
Hello, Buddy.
Hello.
Listen, this really gets me. I become irate as hell over this situation. You're looking forward to having people come out to Lions games in the future. And the only way you're going to do this is for good PR on the part of the Lions Club, which, by the way, I agree with Al Davidson, has been the pits. And you, as the director of that organization, have leave a lot to be desired. And I think the Lions have got to get their act on the road if they're going to do anything. You're not looking for the Grey Cup game today, tomorrow, or this year. You're looking down the road 5, 10, or 15 years. The CFL is in trouble, and people like you are putting it there. And it's about time there was more thought of us in BC that have supported the Lions for years. Sure, you say the occasional man that goes there. I have stood in lineup at BC Lions game at Empire Stadium for the past 15 years trying to get in there, and scalpers. Boy, Jack is so right about scalpers. And I can't afford $500.
Okay, what do you want Bobby to do?
Well, Christ, I think they should get their act on the road and get more tickets for the people out here. We're their customers.
Okay, Bobby, what do you say to
How can
that?
we get more? We have the most seats we've ever had, any club has ever had for a Grey Cup game.
We got the biggest bloody stadium, too.
And it's a Canadian Football League game. It's not a BC Lions home game. And the tickets are divided by the league to the 9-member clubs.
Will you make me a bet that there's not going to be any empty seats in that stadium from those Eastern representatives?
No, I won't make you that bet.
Filled.
I've never been to a Grey Cup game yet that all the seats were filled.
Yeah, by scalpers, man.
Okay, bye. Thank you for your good wishes for Bobby and his future. Go ahead from Victoria.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Webster.
Yes.
I'm kind of pissed off about...
Oh, please. This is a family show. You're not talking on a sports program.
Down to the game.
This is what you bring up on my head. These are your friends. They don't normally watch this program.
You shouldn't have advertised that I'd be on.
Okay.
Right. Finish your comments, sir, in clean language.
Comment, sir. I go to to the football game. I've seen 4 football games in Vancouver, right? And I can't. And I put an application in May for 6 tickets.
For what? The Grey Cup?
For the Grey Cup.
Okay, tell them the answer, Bobby. Be brutal. Be brutal with them.
We allowed season ticket holders to buy 1 for 1. If they had 2 season tickets, they could buy 2 Grey Cup tickets. People that put in for more than what they hold in season tickets, we said we'd see what we can do at the bottom line. We didn't have enough tickets to go around so that season ticket holders could buy more tickets than what they had season tickets.
Every season ticket holder physically has paid you the money for the Grey Cup.
That's right. And we have paid for half of the... Our half had to go into the league office.
Right away, cash on the barrelhead.
15th of this month.
Much would that be? That'd be a lot of money.
No, it's $400,000.
Go ahead, please, to the lovable and universally admired Bobby Ackles.
Oh, me.
That's
Hello.
you.
Good morning.
Bobby.
Yeah, I want to know when are the tickets for the public going on sale for the Western Final, and if there is any tickets from back east, will they be sent back the day of the show, or we don't know?
You mean tickets for the Grey Cup?
Yeah.
Well, 10 days ago, I polled the general managers of the other 10 clubs, and I was informed by, of the other 8 clubs, and I was informed by all 8 that they were short Grey Cup tickets as well. It's the biggest demand on any Grey Cup game in the history of the game, Jack, and it's, I know one club, the Edmonton club, have 5,000 seats, and they had 9,000 applications in a month after they had gone out to their season ticket holders. There is a chance always that Grey Cup tickets will come in the week before the game from the other clubs. There's no guarantee that that will happen. As far as the Western Final, tickets for the general public will go on sale on Monday, November the 7th. That's all the tickets that are not picked up by the season ticket holders and the other...
But you'll have lots of room with 60,000 and only 27,000, 25,000 season ticket holders.
That's right, Jack.
For the Western Final on November the 20th.
Right.
Do the season ticket holders get, like, if they bought one season ticket, do they get a chance of getting more for the Western Final?
Yes, but we won't certainly won't allow them to buy up all the tickets.
Well, what if, say, everyone wants 4 tickets?
We'll have to judge that as it goes along, and we'll have to cut that off.
Good point. Go ahead, please.
Yes. How are you today?
I'm excellent.
Good, good. I support the BC Lions, and I was just wondering, how come they don't send the number of tickets to the clubs that they usually send us, the same number of tickets? Like, instead of sending them a percentage of all the tickets, why don't they just send them the number of tickets they send from their club when the game's held in their stadium?
Do you understand that?
No, I don't really understand.
Don't understand it. Very sorry, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Jack, this is Bill. I used to work at the stadium in the Coliseum for the football games, and I find the guys that I work there with, they buy the tickets, they take the day off, and they sell them and scalp them.
Well, it's free enterprise. There must be season ticket holders.
Yeah, but no, they work there.
Well, how can they get tickets if they're not season ticket holders?
Because they work there, they get all these special advantages or something.
Oh,
tickets are purchased through any VTC and CBO outlets, so they're best available to anyone who walks into a Eaton's or a Woodward store and wants to purchase a ticket. Now, you're talking about game tickets or league game tickets or preseason game tickets or Western Final tickets. Grey Cup tickets are sold only through the individual clubs.
Good enough. Go ahead, please.
I got two questions, one for Bobby and one for you.
Okay.
Bobby, you can't please everybody. And look what happened on the soccer bowl. The first time we had a soccer bowl, and the place wasn't filled. Now, Mr. Webster, leave a message for Mr. Davis. Tell him that I paid $20 to go and see a game. I'm not allowed to smoke, and I don't think he should be allowed to smoke. Thank you.
Just a moment, please. Just a moment, please. Are you still there?
Maybe that was the complainer.
Was he complaining about Davidson daring to smoke in a no-smoking area? Don't you realize, Bobby Ackles, that this is an infringement of the freedom of the press? Which even I wouldn't fight for. And I'm one of the worst smokers of mankind in my past year. I've stopped now, of course. And I lie a lot. My thanks to Bobby Ackles. And he gave me a couple of tickets for Grey Cup.
Are you a season ticket holder?
No, and I'm not going to a Grey Cup. I'll cover the activities, the festivities, the events, and any troubles that arise. But I'll watch the game. I'll watch the game on television.
Okay, Jack. Thank you.
My thanks to Bobby Ackles. A little more serious topic now with Jack Hayes, Executive Director of the Rental Housing Council of British Columbia, to find out if the landlords of BC really love social credit. After the break. Back to a serious mood for a little while. One thing that social credit undoubtedly had a mandate for after the May 5 election was for the abolition of rent controls. No doubt about that. And the abolition of the rentalsman ipso facto quod erat demonstrandum was a logical matter for them to follow through on. Now, you've heard extensively the complaints about the organized tenants and threats of rents going up and the difficulties for both tenants and landlords. So I'll ask Jack Hayes, who has got, what, 3,000 members in the Rental Housing Council of British Columbia?
Yes.
In other words, you cover the whole scope, really, of those people who rent units.
Primarily apartments, but yes, that's right.
Are you happy? First of all, is this a legislation that you went to the government and said, this is what we want?
No, we didn't write the script, Jack. We made recommendations for change, a lot of them, but we didn't write the script and we didn't ask for the total elimination.
In other words, you didn't say get rid of the mediation sections of the rentalsman's duties.
No, but I think that there was an implication in our recommendations that the system as it is isn't working and it has to be changed, and maybe this is the only way to change it, is to come up with a new system completely.
You mean a totally radical excision of all the provisions which appeared to protect both landlords and tenants?
Yes, I think we're in favor of protection for both.
All right, what's bad about the legislation as it is now? What do you want Hewitt to look at a second or third time?
I think the bad part of the legislation is the bad publicity it's been given and the lack of proper understanding and explanation. I think that the legislation, the way it is now, will work, providing people will work at it to make it work.
Well, let's not look at the overall picture. Let's look at a specific.
Okay.
What happens if you give the arbitrary notice without cause, and I believe that phases down to a period of how long?
Well, it starts out with 9 months and it fades down to 3 and stays at 3 months.
So under this legislation as it now is, to get a tenant out, you must give 3 months, or 88 days is it?
Yes. But
88 days, 3 months, clear notice.
Right.
What if I as a tenant say, the hell with you, I'm not going?
I think our first approach is to try and persuade the tenant to sit down and talk to us and resolve the problem. And if that's not possible, then we'll have to go to court.
Well, I am broadly advised, I don't know quite how accurately, but some of my legal friends support this, that if you want to get an unwilling tenant to move, you first must have an eviction order.
Right.
With the authority and office of the sheriff.
Right.
To lift the guy out of the apartment. How long will that take?
Well, that's problematical in Ontario, where they have the system that's being advocated by this bill. They say 3 months.
Well, but
Alberta says the same thing, and they eliminated their act and their rent control. So, I mean, we have a couple of precedents to work on to show that over a period of time, a system like this has worked.
Do you have a without cause clause which gives 10 days notice?
Yes, there is a no-cause situation in Alberta, and there has been, However, I think that there is a misnomer about this word no cause. I don't know whether it was a mistake in putting it in there or a mistake in explaining what it means, because as far as we're concerned, there are lots of causes to terminate tenancies on, and we are highly recommending to all landlords that they always have a cause. It is our policy in our association always to have a cause, not a no cause.
Now, the cause might be they won't pay an increased rent.
No, that wouldn't be a cause. If they fail to pay rent, of course, they can be terminated because they haven't paid their rent.
Now, if I fail to pay rent under this new act, how long does it take you to get me out, even if I'm willing?
Well, you can be put out in 10 days.
That's not no cause, that is cause.
No, that's cause. There's a list of causes under Section 25.
With cause, it's 88 days. No cause is 10 days.
10 days, yeah.
Still don't understand that. No cause. What does no cause mean?
I don't know. I think that I would like the words other cause, because there are at least 10 other causes that I can think of that are not in Section 25, which could warrant termination of some kind. One, for example, if you want to take possession of the premises for yourself or your family. That's not in Section 25. It's got to be accommodated somewhere, and therefore belongs to this Section 21, which is now called no cause. And there are other items besides that.
Yeah, but
illegal activity in the premises, all those kinds of things.
Vandalism, destruction.
All kinds of things. And the tenants know that. They know about these kinds of things.
But even at that, if I'm the worst, most drunken tenant, and there are bad tenants as well as bad landlords, which one always has to say as a matter of rote, you can't get me out physically until you get the sheriff's guys there to take me by the shoulder and lead me out.
No, but that's looking at the worst scenario,
I suppose it is.
The seldom things that happen. They very seldom happen, those things, really.
Yeah, the one thing in which I might quibble with you a little bit is the time it would take to get an action through the county court, I believe it is, for rental matters. Is that correct?
County or Supreme Court, yes.
County or Supreme Court?
Supreme Court of BC or County Court. Those are two federal courts.
Cost you a fortune to put these things through court.
$500 up. Yes.
$500 up.
Yeah.
And the tenant, of course, can appear for himself and get interminable delays if he wants to be difficult.
Yes, but look at what we've got now. You don't get a tenant out now very quickly if the tenant vigorously resists. You not only have to go to the rentalsman, and sometimes there's a procrastination in that process, and then you still have to go to the sheriff, depending on his schedule. So sometimes it does take, in fact, 2 months now.
Yeah, but up to now, it was the rentalsman who was able to give the authority for the sheriff to move in, was it not?
Yes, they can issue an order, but that doesn't come easy.
Even with them. But their proud boast is that they handled 13,000 mediated, 13,500 cases last year. And I'm told, and you can correct me, that you people welcomed and used the rentalsman's mediation service with great avidity.
I think there were some values in what they were doing, and some values and good qualities in the people that were there, many of them. But I think it had lots of weaknesses. The problem with government administration of this kind, it gets buried with paper and trivia and red tape, and that's where it fell down.
I suppose so. And you want the unfettered right of a landlord to run his business and take recourse to the courts in the normal manner to get the unwanted tenant out.
Yes, but with mutual protection for both parties. We believe in mutual protection and a means to deal with the unusual. And the courts is the best means to deal with the unusual.
So therefore, you're not going to go back to the government and ask them to make any specific changes?
Well, we've asked for housekeeping changes in the bill, but they don't affect the things you and I have been talking about. We are open-minded as far as mediation and arbitration is concerned under a different system. We're prepared to talk about that. I've even investigated a little bit, but there isn't a process available right now.
Now, as you envisage perhaps a straight mediation between a small tribunal of a rentalsman type, which would have the power to give orders,
yes,
but without all the weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of paperwork in front of it.
Right. The mediation process in Alberta is voluntary and unpaid and no paper. It's all conversation, mostly telephone. And they say it's successful in Alberta. It's done by citizens.
Okay, Jack Hayes is here. You want to talk to him without the slightest doubt if you're a tenant, perhaps, after the break.
security deposit claims are
To
being solved.
Jack Hayes, the Executive Director of the Rental Housing Council, British Columbia. Just on an aside for the moment. You still have authority, whatever, to charge a security deposit of what, is it 1 month's rent?
Half a month's rent.
Half a month's rent.
Yes.
What assurance has the tenant now got that it will be properly assessed and returned to him if there's only reasonable wear and tear?
The law says that we have to return the deposit within 14 days with interest, and any adjustments have to be explained, including the interest. And that's law. We cannot shorten that. We cannot extend that. 14 days.
14 days?
Yes.
But it's no longer the rentalsman coming in and saying, that's an unreasonable charge against this man's security deposit.
No, but...
It's in your hands.
Yes.
To make the sole judgment. Now, hate to be stupid about this, Jack, but there's an 88-day notice under the new legislation.
Yes.
With cause.
Yeah.
Is that the one landlords will use, or will they use the 10 days no cause notice in the legislation?
It's the reverse, Jack. The 10 days is with cause, and the 3 months is no cause. But that's all right. I understand what you're saying, however. That's all right. I'll answer the question.
So, geez, I should know this better myself. 10 days with cause.
Yes.
88 days no cause.
Right, exactly.
That would seem to be logical.
Yeah. Tenant has more time if there's no cause stated.
All right, which of these sections is a landlord of one of your 3,000 members more liable to use? I would say 10 days, no cause.
10 days will be used more prominently for non-payment of rent. That's the main reason. Well, disturbance, if a person is causing extreme damage or disturbing the peace, those are the other two reasons. And those are existing now where we can get the tenant out in short term through the rentalsman's office.
But that's 10 days with cause, but you wouldn't give a cause when you give the notice.
Oh, yes, indeed we would, under the 10 days, absolutely. We would give the notice and specify the reason why. And we recommend, as a matter of fact, that all landlords always give a reason under the other section.
You would seem to be logically correct. 88 days without cause gives the tenant some time to argue with you or look around.
Absolutely.
But he has no legal foot to stand on except stubbornness in refusing to give you possession.
Right.
In fact, that's the only ground a tenant has who feels he's been unfairly treated is to refuse to give you possession.
Well, the 88 days will give him time to negotiate with the landlord. He may change his mind.
Okay, next question. How much of the rent's been jacked up since this legislation appeared?
The average rent increase in BC has only been 5% since July 7th when the new bill came out.
At what stage will you have total freedom to jack up any rent anywhere, especially those presently within control?
The freedom exists now, and even those units that are under rent review, and everything is under rent review up to $500, if you exceed 15%, you can be appealed. Under 15%, there'll be no appeal.
When does that Rentalsman Review Board die? Next year, 84?
June the 30th of next year.
June the 30th, that's
Yes.
all gone. But there is, I'm told that there is a very minor vacancy rate in the cheaper accommodation, and that all the vacancy rates are in the big fancy places.
Well, we've just taken a survey in October of the Lower Mainland, and 5% of the units available to rent in October were under $300, and 43% of the units available to rent were under $400. So, you know, there's some low rental in there.
Go ahead to Jack Hayes.
Good morning, Jack and Jack. I watched Mr. Hayes on CKVU Vancouver show.
Oh, please don't mention dirty words. Ask the question.
Okay, the question is, he says he's trying to hold the landlords down to 5% increase in spite of the fact that there are no longer any rent control. I find it interesting that my landlord increased my rent by 26%.
What was your rent?
What was it? Previously it was $278. It's gone up to $350.
And what kind of accommodation?
An old building in the West End, lacking lots of amenities, etc.
Would that seem to you, Jack, to be a reasonable increase in the rent from $278 to $350?
The West End is a prime rental area. It's in demand. The average rent in the West End is $420. Even at $350, he's $70 below the average.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Jack and Jack?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it true that use of the court system would be more advantageous perhaps to the landlord and the property management companies than it would be to the average tenant?
No, I think there's a saw-off. I think it's a problem for both of us. Costly and time-consuming, but effective.
And you're willing to accept that?
I think
As
in
the
the
arbiter.
in the absence of a better idea, we are.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Jack. And Jack.
Yep.
I'm part of an oddball bunch that's been sort of stuck in the middle. I'm a homeowner. I own a mobile home, but I'm on somebody else's postage stamp piece of property.
That's tough. Are you involved in that at all?
Well, there has been some extra legislation provided to the mobile homeowners, and we have sent them out a summary of the act. And what they have now, if you have your own mobile unit on somebody else's pad, you have to receive 6 months' notice of termination. And if you have a written lease, they cannot even exercise the 6 months during the term of that lease. They also have to give you $1,000 up to $1,000 moving allowance to get off that pad, so that there's some protections there for you.
Well,
yeah, but that's a real tough situation,
yes,
you know.
It is.
There are no pads in the lower mainland unless you wish to go out to Clearbrook or Abbotsford, but there certainly is very little. Not only
Yes.
that, but I'm a pet owner.
Yeah.
That's a matter of land values and land costs. That's what keeps it away from being close to the inner city.
Yeah, but 24% raise proposals are in our pad rent.
Sometime down the road, I'll do a special program on the mobile home situation, but it's really separate from your problem.
Yes, we deal with it, but it's a little different situation.
I feel so sorry for people who are
Yes.
stuck on a pad and have made all kinds of improvements and get an arbitrary, get the hell out.
What we need is more competition and more mobile parks. We need a lot of them, and the government, I understand, is trying to encourage that. They have programs to get more. You get more competition, you'll have better conditions.
Well, that's the story all the way through, of course. Mind you, you're looking forward to a great real estate boom for Expo 86. Rental boom, aren't you?
No, I hope they stay away from our buildings. They're only transient, and I'm not so sure that they're nearly as valuable as regular tenants.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, Jack.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question for your guest. My sister just last week put a $225 damage deposit for an apartment she's going to occupy in November, plus gave a post-dated check for the November rent. And then she had a look at the apartment, but really quickly, and then when she went back with my brother, she decided she didn't want the apartment, or the...
She changed her mind.
Yeah, and she tried to she paid cash for the damage deposit, but the guy said that he didn't have to give it back to her. And I was wondering if this was true or not.
Is she going to occupy the apartment in November?
Yeah. And now she's changed her mind because
She's not going to occupy the apartment.
I beg pardon?
She's not going to move in.
No, she doesn't want to.
Okay.
There is more damage than
Right. She hasn't moved in yet. She's paid her deposit in advance and paid her rent in advance. What should she properly lose?
A tenant who has a legal commitment by contract, verbal or written, has to follow through that contract. You can't back out. Now, the security deposit is refundable for sure, but the rent is due, and if you stop payment on your check for the rent, then the security deposit money could be used in lieu of the rent because you committed yourself to take that unit on the first of the month.
If the landlord, however, re-rents it by November the 1st, what is his obligation?
Well, a landlord cannot collect rent twice. So if he re-rents, then he has to stop the charge of rental to the tenant who didn't come in.
And return the deposit.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Hey, take a break. One more short segment with Jack Hayes after the break. Go ahead, please, to Jack Hayes.
Hello, Mr. Hayes. Hello, Mr. Webster.
Hello.
Yes, I've been in kind of a strange predicament here, and I was just wondering what my legal predicaments were. The situation has come to pass now, but I was caretaking a piece of property for a gentleman, a very large piece of property
Just a
for
moment,
a gentleman out in
please.
the Chilliwack area.
Just a moment, please. Is a caretaker within your orbit?
Pardon me?
There is a clause in there dealing with caretakers, but it's minor.
What's your problem?
Well, the problem was, like I say, it's come to pass now, but I was caretaking the place for the gentleman. It was a very large piece of property. It had been vandalized several times over the year.
What has he done to you?
Well, like I say, I was moved in for the winter and stuff.
Hold on, please. I'm very sorry. It's come to pass that I can't tolerate this confused phone call any longer. From Oliver, BC, go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I have been renting out houses for 35 years, both in Ontario, BC, and Alberta.
What's your question?
My question is that I think that the landlord has taken an awful kicking ever since they brought in rent controls.
Are you in favor of the legislation?
Yes and no.
Thank you. What's the no part of it?
Well, I think the landlord should ought to have a lot more to say.
Okay, thank you. We're discussing the legislation. We're not going into political diatribes this morning, are we, Jack?
That's right.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. There's a couple of things that a landlord can do that are not normally done in this country. Like you can put an advertisement up that certain people are doing certain things in your building, which is available to the public. And also, I understand it's been done in England where it's much more difficult to remove people from premises.
What are you talking about, putting certain things up that you can do in the building?
Well, you can remove the front door for one thing, and then they have to take you to court to get their door back on.
Hold on, please.
No, you cannot do that.
You cannot do that?
No. Under our legislation, you cannot do that.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Jack. I don't know whether Jack Hayes, he knows my voice, but what I'm concerned about is that the public and yourself, Jack Webster, do not seem to be aware that the rentalsman's office was a law unto itself, and in this instance, Jack Hayes should remember me discussing the Kurzak affair with him, and where 4 or 5 senior rentalsman's officers were making laws.
Okay, hold on, please. Did you find that the rentalsman's office exceeded its authority in an arbitrary manner?
I think the rentalsman officers were given quite a range of authority to make their own decisions and make their own interpretations. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
And you're basically glad they're gone?
Oh, I wouldn't like to say it that way at all. I think that there's a time for change, and this is a time for change.
Go ahead, please.
Good morning, gents.
Morning.
Mr. Hayes, 2 things. Hypothetically, a person is living in a dwelling, has been there for quite some time. Suddenly, his lady would become pregnant. It's an adult building. Is that cause or no cause? And secondly, as to the blacklist book of tenants that is circulating the Lower Mainland, how do you feel about that, and what information would you have on it?
2 good points.
Number one, as far as the tenant is concerned that's now having a baby, and I presume this is an adult building, our policy is to go to the tenant and say, look, all the other tenants here want this to be an adult building. Now, at some time in the future, you will no doubt find a building that has other children. You will be happier, and the other tenants will too. So would you take this under consideration? That's our policy as an association.
Having been there for 2 years and done renovations on the building, you sort of become part of it, and you would wish your family to grow up in that accommodation.
I think that problem can be resolved. I don't think that the landlords are quite as hard-nosed about that as they were a number of years ago. Number 2 problem was
the blacklist book that's circulating in the Lower Mainland.
We have publicly divorced ourselves from any blacklist and always have. We've made statements to the press. I have written letters to the editors saying we do not associate ourselves with blacklists. I think they will disappear very shortly.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, Jack. I had a problem a few years ago before the rentalsman, and I supported the rentalsman because of it. It was a situation, and I want to know if this is going to exist again. I was living in accommodation. The landlord found a better tenant, a tenant that was willing to take a 2-year lease and prepay about 6 months of it, and as such rented it to that tenant before we even got our notice. And then we were just told we had 30 days and we had to get out, and that there was nothing we could do about it.
Well, that's a very good point, because I remember some of the horror stories of pre-rent controls and the tight squeeze. That could now be done, could it not?
Yeah, it's a violation of the present act, but under the new Bill 5, presumably that might happen, but I would hope not.
It could happen.
Yes, I would hope not.
Because you've got the no-cause eviction, and you could go about knowing that he must get out, unless, of course, your tenant follows you up by refusing to give you possession.
Right, and he's overholding, and you may have to go to the courts to clear that one
and
out.
And that could take the Lord knows how long. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Jack. Question for your guest?
Yes.
I'm taking over an apartment on the 1st of November, and on the end of November, the 1st of December, my rent is going to go up $75 approximately. Now, I understand that you have to get 3 months notice in writing. Is that still in effect?
Yes, and it will under the new bill. Precisely the same as before.
If I move in on the 1st of November, can they put my rent up on the 1st of December?
No, the anniversary of 12 months still applies to the new bill.
Until?
On 12 months. For a new tenant moving in, his anniversary starts the day he moves in.
But after June 84, you can put it up every month.
No, cannot. Still 12 months.
Well, I accepted this apartment, but I've been told that my rent will go up on December the 1st, 1 month after I move in.
No, that's not so, unless you came into a broken month the 1st and the first full months with the next month.
No, I'm taking over on the 1st.
No, well then that's your anniversary date, and it will hold until November 1st of the following year.
Who will I contact in regards to this? Yourself?
Well, we'll talk to you privately if you want. This is something you can take up with the rentalsman's office. It's still in business and still administering under the present act, and so they can deal with it.
Go to the rentalsman. But a very broad question, Jack. When all the smoke and dust clears away in June 84, when the last rentalsman person vanishes, and when rent reviews finish, if there is only a monthly tenancy and not a contract for a year, can you put up the rent every month?
No.
What stops you?
Because of the legislation which says that you must have a 12-month anniversary.
Oh, it's still in the legislation?
Yes.
What? But a
12-month anniversary and 3 months notice, written notice under government form will still continue. That's a basic protection for the tenants, and we agree with it.
And you're confident that there will not be thousands of awkward squads who are going to put you through the hoops by refusing to give you possession as notices come forward?
I hope we have enough competition and surplus in the market that we will be well disciplined.
My thanks to Jack Hayes, Executive Director of the Rental Housing Council of British Columbia. Next, I've got two people. I don't know who to give you first. One is the angel of House Sound, and the other is the angel of Eastern Canada. Ugliest angel you ever saw in your life. Ben Wicks. You should have seen him before he got his makeup on this morning. After the break.
Call this moon Lady Gray.
Ben's one of my annual guests. Ben, do you think you could sit there quietly for a couple of minutes and say the minimum possible?
No.
You couldn't?
I'll try my best, but I doubt it.
Do you solemnly promise not to interrupt this very serious program I'm about to launch into before I come to you and all your garbage about dogs?
I solemnly promise, but it don't make any bleeding
Is it not a
difference.
fact that you're the scoop and poop king of Canada?
Absolutely. That is true. Is that what we're calling the angel? Is that something to do with her pooping and scooping?
Don't get me into any trouble.
Oh, sorry.
Let me first of all address a word to Claude Richmond, who is the Social Credit Cabinet Minister, and I'm not ashamed to say that he is a friend of mine. And furthermore, I must give you, Claude, this morning, a critique of an excellent piece of expenditure of public money by the people of British Columbia and the people of Canada. I saw, Claude, the other day that you were very upset at previous administration in your tourism department, which invested about $100,000 in all in a filmed in British Columbia television special, mostly filmed in Los Angeles, featuring Cheryl Ladd, one of the three angels, and you didn't like it and you thought it was a waste of public money. How dare you say that, said Webster, as he rolls the edited version of this film called Angel of How Sound.
Today I saw the man again.
And while that is Los Angeles Airport, Claude, you've forgotten the fact that this is a made-for-television filler. CPA, of course, would probably supply that magnificent shot of one of our prize aircraft flying up to Vancouver, British Columbia. But Claude, where you went wrong is, this is not a tourism film about British Columbia. This is a music special for use by HBO or any television station that runs short of an hour's material, and it happens from time to time. And in this fascination, we actually see Cheryl Ladd appearing at the Tourism British Columbia counter, wherever that one happens to be. I think it's down in Robson Square, to be quite precise. And while it doesn't look like Cheryl Ladd, you know, she's dressed for a start, it is Cheryl Ladd. And here she is arriving at the airport getting into the taxi on the wrong side of the road, which reminds me, some idiot moved the taxis to the far side of the road. Driving through Shaughnessy, they skipped any part of the grubbier places in Vancouver, so this incidental plug for British Columbia is very effective. People all over the world will say, I must drive down that street in that beautiful city because I'm really listening to, and come to the Four Seasons Hotel, one of our more modest establishments in British Columbia. And Claude, you were really very stupid when you, not stupid, just because some of the shots, there she is on a BC ferry. Where are all the noisy kids? Where are all the real people of British Columbia? She's heading through Active Pass towards Tissywasson. You can see her, and she's alone and lovely and reflective. And the subliminal message will go through to people that this was well worth the money.
No wonder you need it with the amount of people you got on the ferry. You need bleating tourist advertising, don't you think?
There she is. So, Claude, don't knock dear old Patsy Jordan, or whoever did it. That's a nice little view of a corner of Galiano. And here is the Angel of House Sound. Doesn't she look absolutely ravishingly beautiful? Wouldn't that bring you from any corner of the world to British Columbia?
Well, it brought me here for a start off. Look.
You weren't looking for no angel, mighty. I know you. No, the fact that that's there, she's leaning against one of our very own trees, giving it a little kissy poo.
Well, who's the guy with the tree with her?
That's Claude.
Oh, that's him.
He's the angel of the tourism business.
Now, oh, here he is on a horse, is it, with her?
Oh,
is this
no.
the same guy with her?
No, he's not on the horse. No, she's on the horse with somebody else.
Oh. Well, I mean, she gets around, though.
Yeah, she will do.
Two guys in about 30 seconds.
Is Claude there? Is Claude on the phone? Oh, Claude. Now, this is our version, Claude. Keep watching your television. We edited in a little piece for ourselves. Oh, shameful. Now, that bit about the round bed was in the film, which shows you it couldn't have been a tourism film for British Columbia. Claude, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Claude, I think it's a great plug for British Columbia. What were you complaining about?
Oh, Jack, you're incorrigible. I just couldn't let you get away with some of that. I'll tell you, the only thing is it's not what was pitched to us. What it really is, there's no dialogue in the whole film. And it's just one of those videos to plug Cheryl Ladd's record, which isn't going anywhere because the record's been out for a year. And as you probably know, Cheryl Ladd's a fine actress, but I don't think she's much of a singer. The only thing that identifies it with British Columbia at all is the opening shot at the tourist booth. But I guess to each his own. I just felt that for $40,000 we could have done better.
But mind you, that might be seen by 400 million people over the next 60 years.
Yeah, I doubt it very much, Jack. It's not that good, and it was called Fascinated, and I think just to capture people like you in the Gulf Islands, they changed it to Angel of House Sound.
I changed it to the Angel of House Sound.
I see.
Actually, the whole thing is an absolute waste of money, but I wanted you in these days when your government is under attack to feel a warm, compassionate vibration of sympathy so that you don't go and jump off a cliff.
Coming from you, Jack, that's much appreciated.
Thanks, Claude. Next time you want to do a piece in British Columbia, we can do one for you in a day and a half for maybe $1.25 million.
We can do it better and for a lot less money than that, Jack.
We sure could do. Thanks, Claude.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wonderful. I like that.
Okay, take over the program.
Okay, thanks. Where are you off? You're
No
going
way.
now? Okay. You tell me when to come up, eh?
No.
I mean, what's happening with my hair? I just saw that. Pam, what's happening?
You know who you look like this morning?
Robert Redford.
Hitler.
No.
Hitler. Okay, Ben, go to the dogs.
Okay, go to the dogs. I start talking about the book now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's show them the book first. Where is it? Which camera are we on? Here we are.
Camera what?
This is the wonderful book, and the reason I brought this book out is for all those thousands of people out there who are thinking about buying a dog. I would suggest buy this book first and then you'll change your mind. I'm doing you a bloody great favour. I myself don't like dogs, you know that. I love my own, Rosie. And the reason I did it was we've had Rosie for 8 years now. And after screaming, shouting, yelling, jumping, throwing things and swearing, we're now ready to do whatever it is Rosie wants us to do.
What does Rosie want us to do?
Well, she wants us to bleat and let her do anything she wants to do. That's what she wants to do.
And what's your philosophy on dogs, Mr.
Well, my
Wicks?
philosophy, first of all, is to go out and buy one so that you know what you're talking about.
Right.
That's the first thing. Where do you get a dog?
A male dog or a female dog?
Don't matter.
Don't matter.
As long as it's got 4 legs and you can take it for a walk.
Is it
That's
fair,
the main thing.
Is it fair, thinking of some of your earlier books, to spay a dog?
To what?
Spay a dog.
Spay a dog? I'm talking about buying dogs. I'm not talking about spaying dogs.
Do you know what spaying dogs is?
Of course I don't. They're dogs that look through keyholes. Is that what they are?
No. Fixing the dog.
Oh, sorry, fixing.
So you don't get any more whittle dogs.
Oh, we'll get to that later. A lot of people are saying I'm going to go right out on the street now and grab myself a dog. It's a big mistake, because when you're training a dog, you're going to have to yell in its ear, scream in its ear. If you do that again, you'll go back to where you came from. Now, if you take it off the street, it could very well have come from a better house to what it's already in, so it will only be too pleased to do what it's not needed to do.
Have you had tips on the training dogs from Barbara, what's her name?
No, the one with the tweed suit.
Yeah.
No tips on her. I watched her, was a little disappointed, I must say. I felt she got the dogs to do things that they didn't want to do, and I don't think that's fair on the dog.
Okay.
The whole point about this particular book is where to actually go and get one and know what it is they do. They don't do anything, actually. They sleep and eat.
Do you know how many tons of dog dirt are deposited on the face of this planet in any given day?
No, as a matter of fact, I was going to look that up this morning. I thought, I know the kind of information I want for Jack, and I couldn't find it.
378,000 metric tons per day.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Listen, we got most of that in our park that's closest to us, where I walk Rosie, so the figures must be wrong.
Ben Wicks flogging the book for the Christmas trade. Obviously, I'm desperate for guests this morning.
No, but I've got to tell you something. Quick,
What have you
go
got to
out and
tell
buy
me?
a calendar. See this?
Calendar.
It's a calendar. It's for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Canada. We serve 50,000 kids, 100 clubs. It's $5 in all your Simpson, all the Sears stores. Sears have put up the money for 50,000 of these calendars.
50,000.
For these calendars.
$5 a piece.
They're $5. They're worth $10. That one's falling apart because so many people have handled it. But it's really worth it.
It's worth it.
Doing a great cause. It's for a great cause.
Oh, no, we support that one, don't we?
Yeah, no,
okay.
we do really. $5 the calendar. All your Sears stores.
Your questions to Ben Wicks and his dog. What's your dog's name? Rosie.
Rosie. Right.
What kind of dog is it?
It's a Jack Russell.
It's a what?
It's a Jack Russell. It's a reverend in the 1800s in Britain.
Please.
Actually bred this.
It's a what?
Well, the Reverend Jack Russell actually bred this dog.
He's a father of the dog?
In the 1800s, he brought this dog about. It has little legs, goes down every hole it can see, and in England, on the English Downs, you can spot the Jack Russell owners because they're the ones carrying shovels and spades. They have to dig the bloody dog out the hole.
It's a ferret.
It's a ferret. It's like a ferret, actually. Look, yeah, I've got a picture of him.
Why don't you draw a picture of him? No, I don't want to see it.
All right,
I want you to draw. Picture will be drawn of this Jack Russell dog called Wozie.
Right. If this don't bring
Just
people...
a moment, after the break.
Oh, after the break?
On the Heels of More Losers, his last Christmas book, Wicks is back with dogs.
Right.
Now, you're now about to show us what a Jack Russell dog, which you claim to own, looks like.
Yeah, this is a Jack Russell dog. I've already started during the intermission, and so I'm just going to finish it off, sort of like that. It has a back like that, and it has a tail. So there it is. That's your old run-of-the-mill Jack Russell. Wonderful dog.
Does it have a brain?
Does it have a brain? Of course it has a brain. Its brain is up here, like there, just behind its eye, just below its left ear, right? And you will find it's an interesting thing about this. A lot of people wonder why it is that they can't get the dog to do what they want it to do. Like they say, sit down and the dog stands up.
Right.
Stuff like that, see. Well, what happens is, you say sit, right? Here is the word sit going into this right ear, okay? It goes down here through a channel, and there's a bloody hoop in this channel, right? Now it gets down the bottom here, and you're saying to it sit, right? Now it turns that word sit, and it becomes stand. It goes in reverse. It's the brain, it becomes stand. So what you have to do, if you want your dog to sit, you say stand. Then it reverses, and up it comes, and here you have a
I
standing
understand
dog.
you got Rosie Jack Russell at the pound.
at the pound, you should get...
Cost you a pound?
No, cost me £2 actually.
£2 at the pound.
As a matter of fact, at the pound is a good way to get a dog. For one thing, they're about 5 minutes from the grate upstairs, so all of them are anxious to leave. That's the first thing. You go in there, you'll find all of them have got their legs crossed. They all try to pretend they never used the toilet, right? And do not take the dog that the guy who's in charge of the place suggests you take.
No.
Because that's the one that's given him the most bloody problem. So it's all manner of advice like that.
What about showing your dog at a contest?
Showing a dog is ridiculous. What you're doing is you're paying $50 to enter, right? And you're going to end up with about 10 cents worth of ribbon. Where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere.
Bleating, leaning and flicking.
Come here,
what's this? Christ, what is that on 4 legs running around the studio?
Somebody pick up that dog. Buddy, pick up the dog. Pick up the dog.
That's your dog?
No, it's your Jack Russell.
It ain't my Jack Russell. I wouldn't own a dog that looked like this. But watch this. See what I told you about the inner ear, right? Watch this with the inner ear. Stop playing about with the dog. I'm the bloody trainer. Now, right. Okay, like, watch that, right? Now, that dog's standing. Okay, watch this. Sit. See? Nothing. See that? Okay, stand. See that? Look at that. Bloody good. And that's the way it is. The other thing in the pound you should understand is when you're buying a dog, you should pick it up, right? Turn it on its back like that, see? And what that does, first of all, it tells you if it's small enough to pick up and turn on its back. That's the first thing, right?
What's the name of this dog?
I don't know what that is.
What? Sadie, what kind of dog is this dog? A Lhasa Apso.
Oh,
Did
well,
you
I
know
thought
that?
I thought I recognised it. I thought, blimey, there's the old Labrador coming in again. I thought, great. There are lots of those around.
Take the poor little... That's Pam Mason's Lhasa Apso.
You should also shout in its ear something because you want to find out if it's deaf. When you've got it on its back, you should scream something like, Fido! And if it doesn't move its head, you see, then you know that's not for you, the bloody thing's deaf. Now, some of them lift their head, but they're lip reading, so you don't want to be deceived by that either.
Okay.
Is that it? What we got, questions?
Yeah, questions.
What do you want to find out?
From the great public. Are there any questions there about dogs? Go ahead to Ben Wicks.
Hello?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm from the Queen, Charlotte, and my name is Rufus Moody.
Yes, Rufus.
How are you?
Not bad. You're the carver.
Yeah. I just came into town. I was in Seattle, and my...
Rufus, hold on. I'll talk to you off the air in a little while. Don't go away. But he doesn't want to talk about dogs.
Well, obviously not. It's all about
Rufus, an old friend of mine from the Charlottes. Do you want to talk to Wicks?
Yeah. Jack, you're damn good reporter. And
Yeah.
another thing is, like, we have a German Shepherd, and like, he sheds hair. I mean, clumps and clumps of hair.
Yeah, it's big.
Now, what do you do about a German Shepherd who sheds clumps and clumps of hair?
What you do is you give it a very short haircut.
Very
With
short
the old razor,
haircut.
shave it all off, and there you've got a dog, and then you'll never have any hair on your carpet again.
That's right.
Just keep on shaving it. That's
No
the
hair
only
on the dog.
No hair on the dog, but no hair on the carpet either.
What do you do about fleas?
Fleas?
Fleas.
Blimey, well, the dog don't care. It's you that has to worry about the fleas. You'll find don't worry about them. The
Do you know
dog
they
is
don't
happy
have
with-
fleas in Ontario?
Is that right? We have a barrier or what?
No fleas in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, or the interior of British Columbia.
Why is
The
that?
cold winter kills them off.
Well, we got some in our house that have escaped the cold winter, I can tell you.
We're talking about doggy fleas.
Yeah. Oh, doggy feet. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Webster,
Yes, ma'am.
I realize Mr. Wicks has quite a sense of humor. In the course of this discussion about dogs, though, I wouldn't like to see him lose sight of the fact that a dog is a man's best friend.
Yeah, this has always puzzled me as to why this happens to be the best friend you've got, the one that you had to take to the park 3 times a day to use the toilet. I mean, look at the bloody state you're in. If this is the kind of best friend you had to pick, that's what surprises me.
Well,
But it really-
it's not so much that, but you can always depend on your dog, whereas you cannot always depend on another human being, and they ask very little from you, and they give so much in return.
They do. They wag their tail all the time. If you shout at them, yell at them, don't matter what you do, they wag their tail.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a nice friend to have.
So do I.
You're quite right. I love Rosie, my love. She does all those things.
Well, I'm sure you do. It's just that at the moment, the way this is being presented, and as I say, I understand you have quite a sense of humor. I've admired your work for quite some time now. But leave us not to lose sight of the fact that a dog can be a great comfort to a human being, particularly when they're alone.
Absolutely. Now, as a matter of fact, that's ideal. And if you're thinking of buying a dog after hearing that little lecture there, you should go to the pet shop. And I've got a little bit of advice for you. Dogs at a pet shop don't want to leave it. See, they got a very warm place, they got lots to eat. Why the hell would they leave it with a stranger? So you go in there and you pretend you're not looking for a dog, right? You say, I'd like to see a goldfish.
I have a dog, and I wouldn't be without one. And
Right, let me tell you, my love. Just a minute, my love. I'm telling you about the pet shop. So, right, you go in there and you ask about a goldfish, see? And in a loud voice you say, I want this goldfish because I have this big mansion with all this green grass around it, and old James the chauffeur drives out and goes to the park every day. You'll find all the dogs are anxious to leave with you. I had a friend who used that technique about a month ago. He not only left with the goldfish, he left with the parrot, left with the dog, and the bloody owner of the pet shop went home with him.
Your calls to Ben Wicks after the break. Ben Wicks is talking to people about dogs. 2 dogs, one his book, 3 dogs, one his own Rosie, and 3... Who's the third one?
Who's the third dog? I don't know. I had a dog that came up here. I've never seen it before, but a very nice little dog.
Okay. McLeish Lake, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Wicks, I was wondering if in your book, if you had anything about giving a dog bones, not giving your dog bones.
Isn't that interesting? Do you know, it's a very good question. What's your name, son?
Lori, we have a dog who's a Lab Shepherd cross, just a Heinz 57, and she's now a $700 dog because of bones. She had them stuck in her intestines, and now she's on pills for the rest of her life. And the vets tell me that now it's one of the main killers of dogs.
Well, it is, because most people give dogs bones that break up, Laurie, and things like this. But you shouldn't forget that a dog does need something solid because of a dog's teeth. They cover with tartar very, very fast. And if you're not careful, they lose their teeth very fast. So they need something to bite on very fast. But just ring your vet, Laurie, today. Any vet store, won't cost you anything. They'll tell you on the phone.
Where is the nearest vet to McLeish Lake?
Williams Lake, but they're outrageously expensive.
No, just ask them on the phone.
How far are you from Williams Lake?
30 miles.
30 miles from Williams Lake.
Yeah, they'll tell you, really. It's on the phone for nothing, you know.
They are dead set against bones. Bones cut dogs' gums, and, well, I had all the vet bills there and everything.
Well, we fed our dogs bones, Laurie, but they're very hard bones and not brittle, not the kind that can break up.
Big knuckle bones.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
Laurie, best of luck.
Okay.
How's the weather at McLeish Lake today?
It's cloudy and cold, hoping for snow.
Okay, Laurie.
Isn't that lovely? I love that.
Go ahead
Hoping for snow, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
Victoria.
Hello, Terrible Terry here.
Yes, Terrible Terry.
I have a question, and a poem is the answer. Does Ben know why dogs sniff each other?
No, I don't, but it sounds revolting to me without even hearing the poem.
Okay, I'll clean it up for television.
All right.
It seems that the dogs, they held a meeting. They came from near and far. Some arrived by aeroplane and some by motor car. And here inside the meeting place, they were allowed to look. So each dog took its rear end and hung it on a hook. There were long dogs and short dogs and puppy, dam, and sire. And scarcely were they seated when some person shouted fire. They jumped up in a hurry. There was no time to look. So each dog grabbed a rear end from off the nearest hook. They got their rear ends all mixed up, which made them very sore, for no dog had the same rear end that he had had before.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I like that. I think that's very good.
So that is why a dog you see will leave a tasty bone and go and sniff another rear end to see if it's his own.
That's very good.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Paul.
Thank you, Terry.
You won't find that in the book. I should add very fast.
Go
This
ahead.
is a very serious book.
Go ahead to Wen Bix.
Hello, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. My dog is from Toronto, and my dog's a great fan of yours, actually.
Uh-huh.
And
Does it wear a pinstripe blue suit?
no, actually, what the problem is, he used to read your column and watch your TV show, but ever since I brought him out from Toronto, he's got this terrible impediment, and he can't bark properly anymore. He walks down the street and says things like "bowk" and how whoa, but he doesn't bark properly. Can you tell me how to cure this?
No, it's a very good line. As a matter of fact, he probably misses my cartoons in the province. And when the province get my cartoons back in there, you'll find that dog of yours is going to be just fine again.
Oh, that'll be a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, when the program came on today, he ran out of the room. I'm sorry to say.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah.
Your second run around on the dogs, eh? You were here before.
Oh, yeah, oh, I see. I was just discussing it a little with Don Harron at one
I
time.
phoned you up on one of your other shows that you were here about a month and a half ago, I think it was.
Right.
And I asked you why you didn't put a caricature of a dog, such as Trudeau, as an Afghan hound.
Oh, right. I remember that question.
Hey, dogs as politicians. Politicians as dogs.
Yeah, well, can I get you one? Can I give you a couple, Jack?
Yeah.
How about Joe Clark as Little Chihuahua?
Not bad.
Not bad. How about Jack Webster as a Boston Bull, and he doesn't say ARP, he says AIRP?
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mind you,
don't like that.
it's an interesting point about dogs looking like people. It's one of the things you have to be aware of when you go and buy a dog. Eventually, you're going to grow to look like the dog.
That's right.
So pick one that looks like Robert Redford.
First time I bump into Rosie, I'll know her. How much is this book?
It's $5. It's worth $10. Get it at all the Sears stores or your Boys and Girls
And that's
Clubs.
for the boys' clubs?
That's for the Boys
And
and
how much
Girls
is the
Clubs.
book and dogs?
The Book of Dogs is $14.95. Bloody bargain.
After the break. Among other things, tomorrow I'm going to be talking to the undiplomatic diplomat, Charles Ritchie, who is Canada's ambassador in Washington in the bad old days of Diefenbaker and Kennedy. Starting today at noon, however, special coverage from CTV of the invasion of Grenada. Live statements from the top people, and then Jim Hart will be here with his show at 12:30, and I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. precisely.